Always bless the work of our hands. And I believe every member who is connecting to this series is getting knowledge, is going to get knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to be able to learn how to carry on this. Now, in charge and let your name be glorified. In Jesus' mighty name, we have prayed and believed. Amen.
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 Mary, you're muted.
Mary, we can't hear you.
Jonathan, could you take over?
Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to this very beautiful evening. We apologize for that technical glitch that our sister Mary just experienced. But Mary Amompere Mwesigwa, Mrs., will be one of the moderators for this e-commerce webinar series that begins today. And myself, Jonathan Whiter, will be the co-moderator. So we shall moderate this webinar series together, beginning today for the next 4 weeks. So we are very, very glad to have each one of you joining tonight. And we believe that the Lord has a beautiful message in this season for each one of us concerning e-commerce. We know that the Lord wants each one of us to prosper, and we know that as his children, we really have to prosper. So even in the mountain of business and commerce, as his children, we are going to thrive. And so we would like to take this opportunity, which is a beautiful one, to warmly welcome each one of you to this webinar series hosted by Mishkan, God's dwelling place. And we are very glad that Pastor Victor is a vision bearer and founder of Mishkan Ministries. And we know that we are going to be hearing from him tonight. And we have a whole lot of a package lined up for each one of you. I would want to say that we have a number of topics that we shall be tackling in this season. We will have 4 of these running. And actually, they will be running beginning today, the 8th of September. We'll have the next running on the 15th of September, which is Wednesday next week. And then we shall have the third on the 22nd of September. and the very last one on the 29th of this same month. So we have a total package of 4 webinar sessions, and so we're calling it the e-commerce webinar series. So there will be 4 of them, and we have quite a number of speakers that are lined up for us. I would like to say we believe that each one of you is going to be impacted, especially how to do business using e-commerce. Tonight, we have a wonderful speaker, and she's Madame Evelyn Cassina. She's a lead ICT consultant at EveMinet Communication Limited. We'll be hearing from her, and she'll be talking to us about laying the foundation for a successful e-commerce business. So we are talking foundation tonight. We're talking foundation of e-commerce. How does one start? You have your already running business, but then you'd like to know, how can you transition from traditional commerce to electronic commerce? So tonight, that is what we are up for. And we believe that Madame Evelyn is going to do a wonderful job. But just before we have her, would like to know more about this webinar series and also about Mishkan. And so would love to invite the lead pastor at Mishkan, Pastor Victor Odundo, to welcome each one of us tonight to Mishkan Ministries and the work that Mishkan actually does. And then we shall get to hear more about this webinar series, and then we'll have our speaker coming on. So once again, I would like to say you're very warmly welcome, and we are glad to have each one of you. So Pastor Victor, you're very welcome. Please, the Lord bless you.
Welcome each and everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the e-commerce webinar series. My name is Victor Odundo. I am the lead pastor at Mishkan. This webinar series has been organized by our marketplace ministry, which is a movement in our time with a goal to equip, nurture, and commission God's people to be able to lead, to govern, and transform marketplace thrones with a kingdom culture in our cities and our nation to the glory of God. As a ministry, we organize monthly webinars, and we have guest speakers and panelists in live sessions which focus on leadership, entrepreneurship, personal mastery, and skills, which should be able to build competency, character, and community among our members. And so we'd like to welcome you to be part of this kingdom movement and be able to expand your sphere of influence through kingdom-centered relationships and see kingdom of God advance wherever God has positioned you. Amen. Now, in this series, we want to see how we can build our people's skills on digital literacy, digital entrepreneurship, and how to lead in the digital transformation. COVID-19 has taught us a lot as a nation and as a people. Everything has migrated to the online arena. It is where everybody is now doing business. Someone said a very interesting statement. You can build a big supermarket and sell to the village or in the local area, but you can transfer your business online and sell to the whole world. And of course, that comes with a number of advantages, but also disadvantages. But our people are grappling. How do we go about this? And that is why, as a ministry and as a church, we want to take the lead, because the church has always been on the lead of innovation. We want to equip our people. And through this whole month, God has blessed us with amazing lineup of IT and business industry experts from the region. Today we have Evelyn from Kenya. She's going to bring the experiences from that land. And we also have amazing speakers who are going to be on this series. And there are more new ones who are coming. And so I would like you to be equipped, would like you to be helped so that we can also compete with the world. Let me declare to you that this is our time. It is Africa's time. We can change the landscape of business in East Africa. And therefore, Mishkan as a ministry is giving us this platform to see how we can move to the next level. And therefore, I would like to welcome you. I'm congratulating you for taking this initial step. And please send someone a message that you're missing. This is a free webinar. These men and women of God are putting their time into this. So may we also tap into what is happening. Otherwise, enjoy your time. Let me hand over to our moderator, who is going to welcome our speaker. Feel at Mishkan. We love you. This is God's dwelling place. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much, Pastor. Thank you very much for this vision that you bear. We know that the Lord put this upon your heart and he will accomplish it. Thank you very much, our participants online. Thank you for joining in for this first webinar series. Our speaker is already online, and my colleague Jonathan welcomed her already. Evelyn is will speak to us tonight. She's a digital learning leader. You can see her profile shared. She's a lead ICT consultant at Evimnet Communications Limited. She'll tell us what it does. She's very interested in digital literacy and policy consultancy. She's a child online safety specialist. She's a keynote speaker on EdTech and a podcaster. And we welcome her today to tell us about laying the foundations for successful e-commerce business. You know, people always say that if you fail to plan, then you're planning to fail. E-commerce, just like anything else, just like building, just like cooking, needs a bit of planning. Today, we'll join Evelyn as she takes us through what we need to do when we think about e-commerce. What does she understand by e-commerce? Who is e-commerce for? And how do we actually start? So Evelyn, we are very, very delighted to have you. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. And we hand over to you right now.
Thank you so much, Mary. And let me just begin by apologizing. I experienced a blackout. So the minute my electricity comes, I will put my camera on so that you will all see my face. But I hope you can hear me. If possible, just take a minute to get a pen and a paper. I hope you have a writing pad so that the things I'm sharing, you're able to write them. And after this session, you can go and either start working on them, Google, get more information, or implement in your business. And if you're starting up, it is a good space for you to, this is a good space for you to be. And as Mary has rightfully put it, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. We have dreams, we have aspirations, we have goals, and planning is part of it. It's very, very important. Setting up a foundation for a business, just like a house. I want you to think about your house, like your building. Yeah, I'll give two analogies: a house and travel. So when you're building a house, you must have land. You must have a piece of land where you're going to put up a structure. Yes, you must think about the house. You cannot just build from the blues. You have to have a script. You have to have some architectural blueprint where the people who are constructing will be guided by a certain architectural blueprint. You need to have some money to be able to put up a construction. You need people. Yeah, you need to communicate. And just the same way with the same way we use to building, putting up constructions. It's the same way we do in business. I want you to think about the trip that you would want to have, the trip of your dreams. Yeah. For me, I think I would really love to go to Paris one day in my lifetime. And when I think about going to Paris, I have got zero control over how I get to Paris because I am not a pilot. I'll take myself to the airport and I know my destination is Paris. And despite the fact that I do not have control, when I get to the plane and I'm moving, I am moving with the pilot. Should there be any turbulence, should there be any redirection of the route, the people on the ground are able to communicate with the pilot, and the pilot is given directions, different routes to get us to Paris. But at the end of the day, my destination remains Paris. So I want you to think about it that way. When you're coming up with this plan that you want to have an e-commerce business, you're starting it up, before you go online, you have to have a solid plan offline. You have to have at least one or two backup plans in case there is some turbulence and you need to be rerouted. You need to be able to have people around you, not necessarily people who are giving you money, but people to support you. I am a mother right now working in Kenya. I am 100% working from home. And that means if I don't have a support system at home, at this moment, I'm not able to sit here with you because I have kids who will keep coming here and they say they're hungry, they want to do this, they want to do that, and it will make this particular webinar impossible. So you need to have a support system such that you understand if I fall sick, it doesn't mean that my business has fallen sick. Somebody else can step in for me. If I'm not available, somebody else can step in for me. If, like, for instance, I don't have internet and I need to be online, somebody else can step in for me. You need a team. And so let's begin with the foundation, the business plan. So you have this grand idea. And let me just say, e-commerce is not only for products, e-commerce is also for services. And I will give you actually links that if in case you're in the service industry, you can go today, apply, and start looking for work immediately. Yeah. So having a foundation as important as important as I've said it is, we need to have a business plan, and a business plan should not be complicated. A 4-year-old should look at it and say, okay, fine, I kind of understand. And it should be something you pin in front of you so that every single day you remind yourself that I'm working towards A, B, C, D. Today I want to achieve this, and when you do, tick it. Yeah. So if you have a piece of paper, one of the things that I want you to put down is who are your partners. Yeah. So probably I want to sell personally. At Eve Minute, we train children on online safety, and then we train the people who are around the children on how to create safe environments for children. So because I know I cannot approach a child directly, I have to go through adults in that child's life. One of my partners is parents, direct parents. Another place I can get partners is schools, churches like yourselves, and looking at people who handle children, like the government bodies that handle children. So I need you to write just at the top partners, and then list the partners that you think you have, yeah, and the ones that you believe are an end to your goal attainment. So put down your partners. And then I want you to think about the key activities that you must have so that you can be able to make sure that that product that you want to sell in China, or that product that you want to sell in Canada, or even here in Kenya, what activities must I have or must I do to be able to make sure that my product starts and it is delivered to the customer? And this is what that looks like. For instance, you're selling spices from Uganda and you need to be able to look for raw materials. So who is giving you raw materials? That's your partner. Key activity would be communicating to this person who has your raw material. You must be in a place where you can maybe package this material. There is somebody for branding. These are key activities. There's somebody for branding. There's a courier who is going to be involved. There is a quotation that needs to be sent out. So you must maybe either you're the one who's the accountant, or you have to have a person in your team who is doing accounting. So that is logistics. Then you need to have communication. You need to look at the different activities that will make sure that that spice comes out from your factory or your reservoir to the client. Or at least if you're using our like a platform, like let's say Alibaba or Amazon, how does your platform your spice get to that platform? And how do you track your sales? These are key activities, and they must be very, very clear, and they have to come from production all the way to delivery. Okay? Then think about your resources. I'm assuming here we are looking at people who want to start, or somebody who has already started a business but now wants to get into the online space. Key resources are something, they are things that are very, very critical to any business. And one of the things that I keep saying is just start where you are, even if you're starting from your kitchen. I have seen my friends during COVID start bakeries from their kitchen because they're able to go to the supermarket and buy the things for baking because they have this passion for baking, and they use Facebook to just advertise their cakes. And when somebody orders, they get the cake, and then they tell you, if you want the cake to be delivered to your house, you will have to pay for the delivery fee. That fee is transferred to the client, so the client is able to say, pick my cake from such a place and bring it to my house. That is starting from the house, because maybe due to COVID you do not have the funds to start up a whole bakery in a commercial estate, but because you have a jiko in the house and you're able to get the raw ingredients, why can't you start anyway? We are very, very fortunate to be in a space where, with just the ability of our phones, we can go online anytime. Yeah, we can go online, we can open Facebook pages, we can open Twitter, Instagram, and right there you're selling. But just before you get to the point of sale, what are you putting up there? So your key resources, simple things that you need to put down. Yeah, very simple things. I have a phone that I can connect to the internet. That's a resource. If you have people within your house who you can mobilize and tell them, I want you to do this for me, I want you to do this for her, that is already human capital that you need to leverage on. Okay? Think about things like your friends who you know are in the advertising business, and you just want to ask them to do you a favor or not to charge you market price for like branding for you your things. Those are networks that you can leverage. So part of your partners or part of your key resources, if you have friends who are professionals who you can ask to give you certain assistance, that is a key resource that you can put down and say, I'm going to leverage on this. Or even when they want something from me, I can give them at a discount, for instance, or I can give them at a low fee. Those are kind of the resources that I'm talking about. Think about the money that you want to invest in your business, and before you put it down, you have to budget. Yeah, I think one of the biggest failures that even I faced when I was starting my business is thinking that I have all this money and then you start putting it in things that you don't need. Always have a budget. You may think you have a lot of money, but when you start misusing it, you realize down the line you don't even have money for restocking, for paying salaries, and that's how things start going down. So put that in place. It is very important for you to just think about the money that you have, how you're going to spend it, and how it is going to bring back its profit. And while we are still on the issue of money, SMEs, I think we have this problem of fearing to tell people that I am charging for my services, especially services, because a service is not something you can touch. You have to feel. So as opposed to somebody who is baking a cake, when you're selling a service like either teaching, like either, doing for somebody like a website or something of the sort, it is you have to pitch more, but you have to let people know that I am not doing Red Cross work. I keep saying it is Red Cross work because Red Cross is very voluntarily. You have to stop feeling shy to charge. If people value what you're giving them, they should not have a problem paying. And I keep saying that. And then always have it at the back of your mind that not everybody is your client. There are people who will say, oh no, I went down there and I was told that this is costing me like even 10% less. It's okay if it is costing 10% less at the neighbors. Why can't you go to the neighbor? Because by the time you're putting a price on what you're selling, you already had calculated even taxes, because this is another thing. You have to calculate your taxes, you have to calculate your cost, and you have to have a profit margin, and you have to pay yourself as an SME. So those are the things that I'm saying. Key resources. Make sure by the time you're leaving that space of key resources, you have things set out in such a way that I feel like I'm not shortchanging myself. And as much as you're working from home, don't start taking things from the kitchen kitty. I'll give an example of still the cake. I am baking cake and I need to sell cake with the ingredients that I've bought. Then you realize I've run out of sugar. But in your house, you have sugar, the one that your family uses to make tea. Then you start pinching from that. You're not using your inventory well. And so you have to be very careful, even in terms of what you're budgeting for and what you're doing. And as much as possible, try not to get into the kitchen kitty and start saying, oh, but it is just oil. Because today it will be oil, tomorrow it will be sugar, and that makes you're mixing business and home, and the profit starts becoming a problem. Okay, if you can have an accountability person, and this is where we are still at key resources. I want you to have an accountability person who will put you in check. Let me give an example of my own self. I am very poor with finances. I know how to make money, but if I'm not guided, I will misuse that money as fast as it comes. Yeah. So I have somebody in my office who makes sure before I pay anybody, I have to justify why that person is being paid. Before I give anybody work, it doesn't matter whether we are pressed for the consultant to come and give us work, but they have to go through the necessary channels for them to be given work. We have to have looked and made sure that that person is affordable, they're giving us good market rates, we look at the work that they have done before. Accountability is good, because sometimes when we are running our own businesses, we start having a mentality that it's my business, so I am not supposed to be telling anybody how I am doing things. If I make money, I should not account for it. If I spend it, it is mine. I'm the one who sweated. And it can become a very dangerous place to be. So part of your key resources, if you have somebody in your team as well who is good with keeping the checks and balances, utilize that person, so that when you make 10 shillings today and you are supposed to spend 5 to restock, you're saving 5. And that 5 shillings also has to be accounted for, and it has to be budgeted. Okay? Then we move to something very, very important called value proposition. What value are you giving? And this is now, let me go back to the analogy of Paris. I'm going to Paris. Why am I going to? For me, I want to go to Paris because I was told by my son it is the city of love. So I want to go and experience love. Not that I'm not experiencing love in Kenya, but there's something nice and romantic about Paris, and I want to just make a tourism destination for myself and my family. That is my end in mind. But what is Paris giving me? The value. It is giving me scenery, it is giving me good food. I will go and interact with culture and stuff like that. So I want you to think about the value that you're giving the end person. If you're selling spices, what do you want the person who is getting that spice to feel? You're selling a feeling, not just a product. You're selling impact. You're selling sustainability. So I want you to think about your value in a statement. Yeah. In our business, when we do online safety, what we want to make sure is that children are accessing internet, they are leveraging on it, they are taking full advantage, but they are safe. We also want to make sure that parents are not being left behind by their children as they are growing into this space. So our value statement is something simple. It is about creating safe environments for children to leverage, and to make sure that parents are not missing out on parenting their children through technology. Yeah, because technology can become something very it can start making people miss out on each other because everybody is behind a screen, and as time is going, people start separating. So we want to make sure technology is being used properly, children are safe, and parents are not missing. That's our value proposition. So by the time I'm selling that to you, there is the process to which I take you through so that you get that value. What value am I giving this person who I want to sell this thing to? They don't know me, I don't know them, but I want them to interact with my product and feel something, right? And when you think about it, if there's any impact in society that you're making, for instance, you're buying your spices, or you're using labor that needs to be celebrated. Celebrate it through your value proposition. I'll give an example. The children we train in my business, the kids, we call them whiz kids. We make sure that they go and hold a hand of a child who has autism. And what they do is to try and tell this autistic child that you can experience technology like any other child, because technology is for everybody. And I'm going to show you how. So we make sure that peer-to-peer influence is being felt where it needs to be felt. We are also making sure that parents who have children who have autism don't feel like they need to hide their children because they're thinking, oh, my child is special needs, I don't know how to introduce them to this world. No, let them be children. Let them understand that technology is for everybody. We want to have equality, we want to have inclusivity. And the way we do it is by having peer-to-peer training. And it is simple things. If a child who has gone through our program knows how to play a game, why can't they teach a child who has autism how to play games? So that this child is feeling like I'm included, that I am here, I am being seen, and I'm being given an opportunity. So in your value statement, this is now foundational, right? And it is part of your vision. And as the business owner, some of these things sit with you in your heart and in your mind. You make sure that that value proposition, it covers everything. So if you have an outreach, let it be part of your value proposition, let it be part of your mission, and make sure what you want people to feel, that impact is being felt in every single transaction that you make. Impact is being felt. Okay, so think very, very deeply. Don't be in a rush to create your value proposition, because it is a long life thing. It can change over time, but let it be your foundation, let it be your why. Yeah, and when your why is there and it is clear, you are able to see how to progress with other things. Okay, then there's something that is tricky. We don't get it right the first time, we don't get it right the second time, even the third time. Cost structure. And why am I saying we don't get it right the first time? If you had priced something in 2019, probably that has changed like 6 times right now because of COVID, and because maybe fuel went up, maybe things were shut down, and then maybe some of the raw materials you create with are not accessible, or if they're accessible, they're very expensive. So a cost structure should be something that is guiding you, but it's something that has very, very many movable parts. Okay, today you might be charging something at 10 shillings, and it is covering all your bases, and it is getting you profit. But tomorrow you realize, when you wake up, just because there's a lockdown and things are not moving the way you thought they should move, the price of your commodity changes. Okay, global policies are implemented in an instant. So meaning, if you are trading, like say with Alibaba, which is international, Amazon, which is international, global policies will change your cost structure. So you have to be very rapid in agility. You have to be in touch with what is happening in your global community. And at this point, I want you to write something that I want you people to go and check. We who are in East Africa are beneficiaries of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. I know the conversation is happening in your country. I know that because it is happening in my country. And at least there are about 24 countries in Africa who have signed in this agreement. The reason why I'm saying you need to go and research, you need to go and check, is two things. Policies will affect how you run your online business, for sure, because what may apply in Uganda might slightly apply differently in Kenya, because maybe when you're crossing the border, it could be that there are tariffs that are changing, and it will affect your cost structure. Number two, I want you to think about your business in terms of exporting, not just working locally. I want you to think about exploiting your businesses, expanding and selling your products outside your country. Which means, when you're thinking about this continental free trade, there are very specific things that are being discussed. Tariffs, yeah, and tariffs will affect your cost structure, because what you buy in Kenya, by the time you're going to implement it in Uganda, it might change. Even with 2 shillings, when the dollar globally, when the dollar is misbehaving, it will change the things that you sell. Okay, so for two reasons, please go look at that, so that you can also see, if I feel like in Uganda, this my product will not be appreciated like Rwanda. How can I go and sell this in Rwanda? How can I make sure my product reaches Rwanda? If you're doing service as well, look at the service charters, and in terms of policy and taxes in the place where you're going, the destination where you're selling, and ask yourself, if I am charging 10 shillings in Uganda, am I able to charge 15 and still make my ends meet in another country? Those are the kind of questions you need to ask yourself. And this is where sometimes, if you're not in a position to do this by yourself, it is good to ask for professional help. Seek people, and don't be afraid to ask. And when you don't have money, you don't need to ask for people who charge. You can just ask somebody to mentor you. I do mentorship, and I know people who have mentored me, and they're able to hold my hand until I'm able to prosper. you can get those people who can help you think about policies and where to get information, and let the internet be your friend at this particular time so that you're able to get the necessary information that you need. Yeah. So when you're thinking about that, it is important. I know you people were having an election period which just ended, but during that time you find that maybe you cannot trade in your own country. So just because you cannot trade in your own country freely, why can't you trade globally, right? We have right now access to like the logistic companies that send things worldwide. Why can't you be able to just plug in a site like Amazon or Alibaba and make sure that your products are being picked from point A to point B? At this point, also allow me to just add another site for people who might be in the service industry. There is a site called Pay Per Hour, and I think I'll put them in the chat. Yeah? Pay Per Hour is a site where you can, if you're a consultant, for instance, if you're a teacher, if you're somebody who likes to write, you can do business proposals for people. Research is so huge. There are people who want research, market research, and information about spaces and places. If you're in a space where you know you can deliver such kind of services, Pay Per Hour is a very good place for you to get business. Freelance, part-time, name it. And so what you do, I hope I'm still clear. Should I go off? Please let me know.
You're
This
very
space,
clear.
thank you, thank you, thank you for that feedback. This is a space where personally, when I was starting as a consultant, I used to go and get simple jobs, like just doing market research in Kenya. So maybe I'd find somebody in Canada who wants to come and open up a shop here, and they want to know how trade is being done. Because I'm the one on the ground, it is easier for me to collect data here and there. And I would do very simple things. I would use my Facebook, I would use my Twitter account, and just ask people, if you were to buy a necklace here and there, how much would it cost you? If you were to, so I'm doing surveys, I'm doing research with people, and they don't know why I'm doing that research. And I'll sit down and I had to Google how to do a report. I never knew how to do a report, and I would do a report very quickly, send it, and I'm paid. But before that, at least when you're taking up a job, you ask the person on the other end, because of trust issues again, you ask the person on the other end to commit with a down payment. So let them give you a down payment so that by the time you're giving them the report, they give you the other 50%. And these are the tricks that I came to learn. Of course, you will fail here, you will underquote sometimes, but all in all, I think it is an experience that really taught me a lot of things, and it exposed me to marketplaces that I actually did not know existed at all. I mean, I would not imagine I'm working with somebody in Belarus and I have never met this person. And at that time, we didn't have what we are having right now, like Zoom. We used to use Skype, and I had to also teach myself how to use Skype. So the internet here is a very, very powerful thing. And what I just did is I just came up with a plan, and I said I want to do market research for people to get quick money, and I was getting quick money. But then also, just understanding that some of these things can take time. So has to be a business that you're planning for, and this is what we're doing, the foundational part here. And understanding when you're quoting, you have obligations to your government in terms of tax. So always make sure your tax is included in there, okay? So the other thing that I wanted you to write in terms of also creating foundation, and this is part also of your business plan structure, it is your customer relation. Who is going to deal with your customer? Again, founders and business people who have decided to become, entrepreneurs, sometimes we think we know it all, and sometimes we don't. And we might have issues, let me call it issues, with communication. So again, remember, you had key resources and you had partners. Is there somebody who can help you articulate your product in a way that a customer can understand? Because maybe the concept is in your head, but maybe that concept is so technical. Yeah. Myself, I have people who have to help me interpret what I want to teach in a way that is not technical, because I'm in the IT space. So I might start saying things like VPN and things, and then people are like, okay, we are listening, but we are totally lost. So because we teach children, we have also learned to make sure that our language is understandable and it is as simple as possible. So those are things that we need to learn here and there. And if you are not the best person suited to have customer relationship, please hand it over to somebody else. Just make sure that they're not misrepresenting you by communicating their own things. But Sometimes it is important for us to sit back and see other people taking the wheel and seeing how they can adopt customers. So I want you to think about, where is my client? But a better way to think about it is, who has my money? If you ask yourself that, oh, you will start thinking of everything. Who has my money? So I want to sell my spices. Who has my money? Supermarkets, chamas, the church. I mean, and that opens your brain. It opens your space, and you start thinking, okay, so if I look at my product, who is likely to buy it? That is the person who has your money. So under your customer relationship, write who is supposed to communicate. Then who has my money is, where am I getting my clients? Yeah. And then what channels are we going to use to get this client? So I have, as I said before, like in my business, primarily the child is my client. But how do I access the child? The way I would access the child directly from the parent would be very different from the way I access the child through a school. Because through a school, the school has to consent for me to be able to speak to children, but also the school has to consent with the parents and ask for permission. Like, we want Evelyn to come and speak to your children. I hope you have no issues with your children being exposed to this third party, because in a school I am a third party. Yeah. So the different channels at which you're going to use to reach your customer, they have to be very clear. Don't just say online, or don't just say e-commerce. E-commerce is huge. What e-commerce in your country? Is there something that is used a lot? And are there charges onto advertising there? What are the platforms that you need to use? Is it mobile friendly, that even when people are on their phone they can easily access your products? Such kind of things. If it is Alibaba or Amazon, what do I need to get there? Yeah, so that at least you're thinking about all the platforms individually, and then you see which is the simplest, how can I start? And by the way, don't complicate yourself. Facebook is a big place. In case you feel like you can't, there are tutorials that teach you how to sell on Facebook. Even WhatsApp, I don't know if you've seen, but in Kenya we put things in WhatsApp groups. You have these marketplaces. On Facebook, there are so many groups that have marketplaces where you just post a product, and then people can reach you. They can give you their phone numbers, direct messaging, and you sell. So even before you think about the big platforms like Amazon, and even looking at like the ones we have in Kenya, start simple. WhatsApp. Start simple. Facebook. Start with your charmers. Start with your church friends. Just make sure when you're selling something and you see, oh, I sold, and people are asking me, so you start having different kind of problems. I need to create more. That's a very good problem to have. So when you're thinking about your channels, be very specific. I have this channel, what does it require me to do? I have this other channel, what do I need to put here? Then at least you can go back to your cost structure and see, if I'm selling on Facebook, I will sell at this price. But if I'm selling on Amazon, because maybe the logistics will be slightly higher, I will increase my price kidogo, so that at least I'm able to make my profits. Your profit margins have to be very clear, okay? Then another thing that I feel like people who have services need more than people who are selling products, revenue streams. If you're somebody who is selling a service, you probably are a good public speaker, for instance. You can teach, you can write, you can record. Nowadays, people are even doing recordings and selling them, right? You can do voiceovers. Somebody has a website, or somebody has a podcast that they need
All right. I think we lost Evelyn a bit.
for yourself. Yeah, videos right now. You can ask people. By the way, I think your product will need a good voiceover, right? And I can record for you that voiceover. You're paid. So look at different ways that you can harness that voice, because your voice is your market, and you need to keep asking yourself, who has my money? If there's anything you need to get out of this webinar is that, who has my money? And then see how you can create different streams for yourself to get that money, right? And then segment your customers. There are those customers who buy wholesale, you give them a cheaper rate, right? There are those ones who are buying individual products. There are those ones who buy every other day. There are people who buy once in a very long time. Those are different clientele. Not that it doesn't mean that because somebody comes in a very long time, they're not somebody you can serve. You'll still serve them. But you need to be able to see, is my product going monthly? Is it going weekly? Is it going daily? If I'm selling a service, am I being paid after after I deliver that service? Can I ask for a down payment to be made to me? What are the modalities of being paid? So you need to be able to look at your customers and say, if I'm doing a training, like for instance, now we are doing a training. I'm doing a training for 25 minutes or 40 minutes, right? And I'm paid 200,000, right? I'm giving an example. Those are not my rates. I'm giving an example. So if I'm training one person or 50 people, I will still use the same internet, the same electricity, the same voice, the same energy. So you need to be able to know, if I'm training one person, am I still able to catch that 200,000? But if I go to a church and I say, I have this program, which is really nice, but I would wish to be given audience. And ideally, I charge 200,000 per person, but if you give me more people, we are able to negotiate. So you're thinking about mass people, and then see how you can negotiate those prices so that at least you're able to gain more money. Again, who has my money? And then you're segmenting your customers. So you'll say, I can get customers from church, from school, I'm in a PTA somewhere, I have this network somewhere. So I'm able to customize my programs or my products in such a way that it can meet the different clientele. Because at the end of the day, all you want to push is product or service, right? And because we are all here from a church, there's something that is so important that everybody, I believe, under the planet should be doing: giving back. Who are you giving back to, and why? And remember, you have a value proposition that you need to clearly think about. So your outreach, who is it reaching? What is the impact? Why? Yeah. So that if you're going to create a cost structure that says my profit is 5%, my inventory to restock is 10%, like that, how much are you putting to give back? It's like tithe in the church, right? You know that tithe, you need to tithe. So you need to be able to see how you're reaching out, who you're reaching out to, and why, and allocate that. Because I do believe in every business we need to be able to see a community that is vulnerable, people who deserve reaching out, and reach out to them, because there is somebody who sacrificed something and you have to sacrifice something for them. That's how the world operates. So always think about that outreach, and that is part of your foundation, because at the end of the day, you don't know whose life you're changing by just creating a simple spice. You don't know whose life you're changing by recording a video or recording a podcast or just using your voice. You don't know. That is outreach. So make sure that you have part of that as in your business plan, as something that you dedicate yourself to. Okay? Then as you go digital, because I know, and this is all offline. So you want to transition what you're creating on paper and start thinking of platforms to go and sell, because this is an e-commerce session. So I want you to think about your skills. So you're doing an inventory of yourself. So this is a skills inventory. Yeah. What do I have in terms of skill? I can communicate, I can type, I can translate, I can write them down. Yeah. Write all those things down. I live in Rwanda, in Uganda, and I want to be able to comply with my government. What does my government require of me to comply with? Write those things down. Yeah. If you're communicating to who, you might be communicating English to somebody who does not understand English. And if you look at your skills, you need to be able to know there are platforms nowadays like just Google Translate, that if you put Google Translate in maybe like a Facebook post, it is able to translate English into the language of the person who is receiving your product. Because remember, all you want to do is to be able to sell and sell and sell and create impact. So part of communication is simple. I'm maybe selling something to people who don't understand Swahili or English. How can I make sure that they understand what I'm selling? Translate it. That is a digital skill. And if you don't have it, you can go online and learn it. But because you don't need to learn how to translate, you can use translators. Like you can use softwares like Google Translate and see how you can apply it to translate to what you need. And then, as I said earlier, think big. There's something I'm telling the Kenyans in my country right now. Yeah, we are just about to go into an election season, which means very many things will be destabilized. Already things are destabilized because of COVID. But above COVID, what else, right? We have very many things that I know will be pushed here and there. But that doesn't mean I say, we are in an election year. People are not being paid by the government. I can't sell. You know, the next time you go to the supermarket, you cannot ask people to give you food on credit. A supermarket, they need cash on hand. So think out and think how to push your product out of your boundaries. And that is the benefit and the beauty of technology. You're not customized to just or blocked to selling in one space. You can start expanding. Sometimes your home area is not the only place you can sell. So look at other markets that are viable for your product or your service and start doing research. Start looking for strategic partners. Yeah. You're in a church right now. You can just ask in your church group through your pastor, are we able to get somebody who is in Kenya who can help me with 1, 2, 3 things? You will find that somebody somewhere has a family member living in Kenya, and they can give you that information via WhatsApp, which is just a snap of a finger because you're using technology to leverage on that communication. So don't be boxed into thinking you can work only in one space. Think out. Think out. Yeah. And then, of course, as you're looking at that, always try and see what your government is doing with other governments, or even just within your space, what they are doing for youth. There are very many things I keep telling youth. Like, for instance, in my country, there's something that we call 30% for youth, women, and people with disability. So I keep asking myself, so if women, all the women in Kenya, all the youth in Kenya who are under 34, and people living with disability, we have been given a whole 30%. Who has the 70%? Who? That is a very good question to ask. And then you ask yourself, why are we only being given 30? Because that means if we are the three people, we all have just 10%, right? We are squeezing in 30. But who is the 70% for? We get boxed into thinking about the things that we are given. Why can't we expand? And you go to the parastatals and the ministries that are giving out tenders and apply. As long as you're complying, apply. What is the work that they can tell you? Not now. You didn't have that job, so no bone is broken. But what are the odds that you apply for a job and you get it? Just because you had the audacity and the courage to apply. It never hurts. Apply. When you're selling, sell. You will sell to 20 people, only one person will come back to you. But you didn't know that one person. So it is okay. So that is some of the things that I keep telling the youth that I mentor here. First, you utilize your internet time wisely, because time is a constant. We are the ones who waste time and then we start fading away. Use your internet time wisely. And today, just decide, I'm going to read this African Continental Free Trade Tariffs and what it says. And you will not be on WhatsApp or on Facebook wasting time listening to gossip and whoever did what. Yeah, that is part time and you can do it at a later time. But when you're using your internet wisely and your time, at least you're able to see how you can implement something in your business. Think about a product and then ask yourself, who else in the world? Don't box yourself to Uganda only. Who else in the world is selling what I'm selling? You'll be surprised to find yourself among a handful of people or just the only one who's selling. Then ask yourself, where can I sell it? And then how? And then you just realize you're spending your time having major problems that are good problems to have than asking yourself, why are people not buying my things? Why? Just think about opening up your mind and your brain and harnessing what is around you. Ask people. I keep saying people who ask go far. Kuuliza si ujinga. And I know you're understanding that Swahili. Mwenye huuliza si mjinga. I ask. And as long as I've not understood something, I ask so that I can understand. So that I'm able to know if this is right for me, if it is not right for me. Ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. So those are the kind of things that I keep telling people. And when you're creating, remember, we are creating a foundation. If your architecture is not right, when you're going up, you might be forced to come down again. And you see, there are these statistics we keep hearing that SMEs, their businesses fail after 5 years. Why do they fail after 5 years? If you have a plan and it is a solid plan, a few moving parts can move, but when you have your why, when you have your foundation and it is solid, it should not stumble, it should not shake. You just say, okay, fine, COVID happened. Like, for instance, for me, I used to have a physical office where children will come to teach, would come to learn, and we would only teach them on Saturday. But when COVID happened, all our classes went online, and I realized I could teach from Monday to Monday. So I was being limited by that physical space, paying a lot of rent, paying service charge, and buying unnecessary things. Only that, if I had opened an online class earlier, I would have been making more money, and I would be meeting my clients every other day, right? So sometimes it is a blessing when certain things happen to us, because it is wise for us to explore. And I can see, I'm being told that our second speaker is ready. In fact, for me, I'm actually done. But I want you to just think about, the opportunities that you have. But first, look at your skill. Do an inventory of yourself. And before you go online, make sure your foundation offline is solid and it is stable. So I think I will hand it back to Mary. Mary, take it back.
Yes, I'll take it back. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Evelyn. It was very refreshing listening to you. It looks like I'm back in class. I know that the participants have so much to take back home. And as my colleague Jonathan wrote, please put your questions on chat so that when it's time for the question and answer, our speakers can respond to them. I don't know what the rest of us picked out, but if I don't want to forget anything, I think Evelyn mentioned that we can start from where we are and we need to ask ourselves who has our money. That is a very interesting question. If we know who has our money, then we know that we need to do this e-commerce now and to start now. So thank you very much, Evelyn. That was a great teaching there. I will ask Jonathan to introduce our next speaker who has come in, and I will also ask us to put our questions on chat, and we keep them going. Thank you very much once again for joining this very first meeting in our e-series that will take place the whole of September. We'll highlight the dates shortly. Jonathan, please, our next speaker.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you very much, Evelyn, for that very, very beautiful sharing. We have a few minutes left to close, which are about 30, and we are glad to be joined by Mr. Amos Wekesa, and he is the Chief Executive Officer for Great Lakes Safaris. This gentleman is very admirable. I know he's a friend to one of my friends, and he has mentored him in this tourism business. So I'm glad that he's here with us tonight. Mr. Amos Wekesa is a businessman, and he's an entrepreneur and a corporate executive in Uganda, who is a founder and proprietor and managing director of Great Lakes Safaris Limited, a tour operating company in the African Great Lakes region. So, Mr. Wekesa, we are glad to have you tonight, and we believe that in the next 20 minutes, you're going to help us wrap up this topic that Madame Evelyn has just been talking about, laying the foundation for a successful e-commerce business. And so we hope that as you share, you can touch on a few things. I am a full-time employee, and I also would like to start business. How can that be? Because I believe we have people in our audience or in our listening tonight who would be in such a category. You may, at one point or another, also hint on that, and we see how one can juggle that, or if it is not even possible. So please welcome, and please take the floor.
Sorry, so I'm having a bit of a problem with the technology here, but yeah, I think I've sorted it out. Thank you so much for the invite this evening. My name is Amos Wekesa, like Jonathan has said. And I like the topic because, and I like what the last speaker just talked about. I just came in when she was going off. But she said, first of all, you must make sure that your business actually does exist on the ground before you think about putting it out through the online platforms. Now, I personally think that the internet has become such a powerful tool to do anything. But of course, the internet is also internet and then social media platforms, online platforms are double-edged weapons, actually. You can actually be destroyed, basically being online and not doing what is right, but you can also grow at the same time being online. So the reality is that The reality is different. The reality is, just a second, guys. I just need to put my phone in charge. I've just arrived home. Just a few seconds. Yeah, so just before I start talking about that, I should probably just give a preamble of where I have come from. I started my own business 20 years ago, 20 years, 4 months now. It's been a great walk. I can say it's been a walk of challenges, a lot of opportunities. I also started out as a cleaner after having failed my elbows, became an office messenger. I was a sweeper cleaner, really. Became an office messenger, became a tour guide. Tour guide is when I discovered my abilities and strength at the time. And then I became a desk guy. And then that's after something, of course, started Great Lakes Safaris. To be honest, I started Great Lakes Safaris purely with the desire to survive. And I did not envision myself going beyond survival in train business, because I had come from fairly an abject, poverty-stricken background that I thought that was tough, that I just had to work hard and get out of. So I started out with a briefcase for 9 months, then went under a staircase office for 9 months again, and then was able to start having a proper office and growing it. Now, of course, physical presence was very important at the time. And I also knew that having a tour guide, one, had really networked, but number two, I had also known that I had the skill, because the first thing that any young person, anyone that listens must do is to make sure that you skill yourself to the extent that people will desire your skills. Try as much as possible to be the best that there is in whatever environment you are going to try and take on. After you have skilled yourself well, the second thing you do is try and be as networked as possible. Because being able to be networked also has growth in character, change of attitude is not good, ability to offer value to us. It's not just about you. That's things you do. Of course, when you have a skill, you have a network, then you get some resources as a third. You have a skill, you have networks, you've got a bit of money. The fourth thing is influence. So it comes easy, and influence is what I'm trying to. It's influence that probably has put me to speak to you, has put me on this platform to speak to you guys. Now, after I was fairly skilled as a tour guide, had discovered Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. I knew my way around properly. It was a fantastic opportunity for me. Now, the networking was in two ways. One was going and looking at, when you want to do business, you have to look out for the opportunities available around you, the challenges around you. Time, it was basically, focusing, providing best car hire within the city, providing cars for people that were going out for weddings. And I didn't have any of the cars, of course. I started my business with $200 in briefcase, 2001, 23rd of April, which was a day after my 28th birthday. So I'm 48 now. So I've been around for some time. Now, I knew that I had skilled myself enough to be able to even survive on my own for some time. And also I knew that if I worked hard, I would grow. It's just that I didn't know that I would desire to grow fast, because my desire was, like I said earlier on. That said, so I started linking up with many people around. Then with time, I discovered that I needed to understand how to work with the internet. So we designed our first website, which was www.safari-uganda.com. And I had to learn certain aspects of online positioning. So I had to learn about search engine optimization. Why learn about search engine optimization? Every single day you have thousands and thousands of websites that are uploaded on internet every day. How do you, using the keywords, come page, second page, come on the third page? Not many people go searching after the third page. And you also must put yourself in the shoes of the potential clients. Now, I knew for people going to Tanzania, going to Kenya would use the word safari. And therefore, a lot of people, one of the top keywords for Kenya tourism is safaris. How do you make sure you're number one on Kenya safaris? Do you make sure you're number one on Tanzania safaris? So I made sure I looked for being page 1, page 2 for Uganda safaris. And many other such words, like, for example, gorilla trekking, chimpanzee trekking, Uganda adventure. These are the things that I looked at. So on learning that, I also learned that the websites or the internet has this crawler goes around. Goes around, I think, every 48 hours, and looking for websites that are frequently updated. Now, a website is like human being must eat for them to remain relevant. What that means is that you must be able to frequently update your website for it to capture the attention of Google or growth. And as you continue updating your website, it improves your page ranking. And the better you are ranked, the more visible possibly be. But the other way is that as you have created a website, you need to, if you page rank 0, for example, if Nexa.com, if your page ranks 0, how to get to page rank 3? You will need to get so many links from page rank 5 for you to be able to catch up. It's just when you are starting a business, you need to hang out, associate yourself with people that are much better than you in the same business for you to be pulled up. So it works the same way in as far as improving your ranking on internet is concerned, especially to your website. That's very, very, very key. The other one is making sure that you've got lots of arrows on media houses. So if you Google, example, my name, you'll be shocked how many different organizations have featured me on their platforms, from CNN, CGTVs, many, National Geographic, One Last. You can talk about them very, very, very many. And locally, I've been able to in very many media houses. And that also helps you in terms of visibility as a business person. But like the previous talk, say that it is important for you to be as good offline as you are online. Because at the end of the day, you must provide a service. That's what the customer want. Your customer is a king. Now, all economics said previously that for you, satisfied client, he was able to tell 3 to 4 clients. A dissatisfied client, on the other hand, was able to tell between 10 and 11 people. But that has changed because of the presence of internet now. Depending on how popular a client is, a client could easily talk about the negative experience and it would reach probably 1 million people. It can reach 100 people, depending on of course, the strength of it in videos. Now, research has shown, for example, us that I own Great Lakes Safaris, but also own Uganda lodges. So we've got Primate Lodge, Simba Safari Camp, Elephant Plain, Budongo, MV Zinga. These are part of our businesses, and I also have a business, an office in Rwanda. I just bought a lodge in Tanzania just before COVID. Now, that said, if you are going to go to a place, for example, you're going to go to Kenya and you're going to Nairobi, your most likely source of information might be TripAdvisor about the different accommodations available within Kenya. Now, if you have one negative comment on a TripAdvisor, is equivalent to $200,000 in a period of about 10 years of loss of business. That's how powerful the internet has become. So one person writing a negative review about your accommodation could cost you quite a lot of. Now, to avoid malice, to also avoid, for example, I could easily get all my friends. I would come and I could get, say, Yosam Bariche. I get Atiang, Laura, Christina Omondi, Paula, Viraro. I could tell more of my friends, now go and write very good reviews about me, for example, on TripAdvisor, write about Primate Lodge. Now, what TripAdvisor has done is ranking their reviewers. So people will believe more the senior workers, people who have been able to travel around the world and have been able to talk about maybe 100, 200 or 50 different accommodations across the world. So those are more believable than the guys who have just gone to talk about the experience about a certain accommodation once. So we that's very important. And that's what brings us back to other platforms, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whether it's LinkedIn, whichever platform. It also depends on the strength of an individual that talks about you. It's key for you to associate and be able to provide services to people that are even more influential across board. Because if they're not satisfied, the damage they can cause to your business can be long lasting. Now, in a business, when we started out, started out the briefcase, started out growing slowly, I learned that I needed to build systems. I needed to have the right guides. I needed to have proper managers. I needed to have proper accounting systems. And as a person, I needed to divide myself from the business. So I have been earning a salary for the last 18 months. So just because I run a business, I don't go business and withdraw cash and be able to use it for my personal needs. No, I earn a salary, and from the business, I'm able to also have my wife earn a salary. All of us earn a salary at the end of the month. So even if a personal problem, I don't go to the business and withdraw money for my own survival. I don't do that. That has given us strength. The ability to save and invest. So we have had the ability to save and invest because of the discipline that has matched that. At the same time, the saving has been very useful. I can tell you that in the last 18 months, we've been able to look after our businesses without borrowing. We've not had to close. Of course, we have had more people working from online and at home as opposed to working at the office directly. I must say we are not borrowed as a business. We have no loan in a bank. We probably have a strength to survive another more months. And so far, we're going almost towards 2 years. It's because of the discipline that we have. But of course, as a business person, you sit down and start thinking about alternatives. We've been trying to push for domestic tourism. At the same time, we've been able to push for the markets that are still open. You know that Uganda's number one source market is the UK. Uganda is on the red list in the UK, which means that the tourists, anybody who wants to come from the UK to Uganda would have to go through massive expenses. They would have to spend £80 for a COVID test. UK, arrive in Tebe, use another $65 to check again, and then before they leave, they have another $65. When they go back, they have to quarantine for days, and they have to pay the government to get 2,285 pounds. So it's extremely very difficult for anybody to come from the UK because of tourists. So we're getting Americans. That is also trying to diversify during particular time. So for those who follow me on Facebook, you've been able to see that we diversified our products. I've gone into agro processing. Of course, I'm having quite a bit of customers from Kenya as I speak right now. We're trying to service some of the contracts we're starting out. It's taken a few months to build this, about 8-9 months. I've gone into a growing space. So discipline is very important as far as running a business is. I've always told people that the first thing that you do is find a source of income. After you've gotten skills, you've got networks, make sure you fight hard to find a source of income. The second thing you do is save as much as possible on that source of income. The third thing, invest as wise as possible and on the saved money. But the fourth thing defeats so many people's lifestyle. A lot of us live lives for other people. So the type of dressing, the type of shirt, the type of trouser. I sometimes post my pictures on the walls on Facebook. People say, but you only have one shot. Others will say, oh, you have the black belt is not supposed to go on this. And I'm like, I only have 2 belts, 2 black belts in my life. That's it. Of course, there are certain things that should not take up a lot of your time if you're a businessman, business person. So, and I tell the guys that don't let the pressure of those who are eating their harvest send you into eating your seed. You must understand that other people are living their own life. You must live your own life. That way, you're able to then fight hard to live below your means as much as possible, because that's very, very key. Even when I earned 20,000 shillings a month as a I still had a saving and was lived far below my means this particular time. I hope this is sufficient enough for you for us this evening.
Wow. Thank you very much, Mr. Wekesa. That was quite an interesting sharing from you. And you have really utilized the 20 minutes so effectively. And you have packed us with a lot of information that is very, very good for us about skilling oneself, being resilient. The start can be tough. You did briefcase business for quite some months, and networking, you said, is very, very crucial. Positioning oneself online, those tips are really key for us, and I hope at some point you can be able to share with us so that we can be able to share with the participants if one missed out anything, especially on improving their user reach via websites. So quite a number of things that you have actually talked about, and you closed so very well about not eating your own seed. I had personally put it as don't eat your own eggs because they're the ones to hatch and give you the chicks. So we are really very excited, and thank you very much for sharing with us. We want to open up the floor to the participants. If there are any questions that one has, kindly, you can come off mute right away and say out your question quickly. And we have our 2 moderators, rather 2 facilitators, Mr. Wekesa and Madam Evelyn. They are ready to take up your questions in the next 5 minutes so that we can close, because we're supposed to be closing actually in the next 2 minutes. But the floor is open to questions. Thank you once again.
Yes, thank you very much, Jonathan. I'll wait for the questions as they come in, but I'll also add my voice to thank Mr. Wekesa for sharing a part of their life with us. As I said, I have some take homes here. One from Evelyn about looking for where my money is, and now from Mr. Wekesa, not to look at those who are eating their harvest and I think about eating my fruit. I think that is very important. But I also liked what you said about associating with people who are better than us so that we can learn, from them. Those are my very important take homes from the sharings from the two speakers that we had tonight. And the fact that e-commerce business, like any other business, needs us to plan. It needs to be right offline before it actually gets online. Yes, as my colleague shared, we welcome questions. Please type in the chat or do raise your hand, unmute, and ask your question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Paula.
Yes. This is Laura Atieno.
Okay.
Pastor Victor, thank you so much for putting together this. This has been very, very helpful, very helpful to me. A quick question to Mr. Wekesa. Thank you, Mr. Wekesa, for sharing all that you've shared. It's really very impactful. I picked up so much that I'm going to be using. I just wanted to ask you a quick one. In this COVID period, for a tour and travel company that had just started, what advice would you give them to keep afloat? I'm talking about a tour and travel that has just started, let's say, within January of 2020, and COVID hit. What advice would you give such a tour and travel company right now to keep afloat, to be able to stay in business? Thank you.
Paula Biraro has another question. So, Mr. Wekesa, you can just jot that one down, and then we get Paula's as well. Then we can take up those two. If there are any others, we can take up 5 and then we answer all at once. Paula, please.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. And I'd like to say a big thank you to our two speakers, Evelyn and Amos. We are really grateful for very informative information that you've passed to us. I have 2 questions to both speakers, and they may correlate, so any of them may answer. The first is with regards to establishing a business that is basically medically programmed. It's more like a medical tourism business that cuts across borders. And the challenge, of course, during these times is that some of these services that you're providing, they seem to be more like services that are not, how would I describe it? Services that are not compulsory. They're more like lifestyle services. How does one push or market such services to customers during times like this? And then secondly, the question is regards to how can you make use of cross-border trade? I know there's a lot that has been done concerning the East African community, but for us who are situated in the diaspora, how can we best target that, especially if you're looking at the Kenya and Uganda relationship? How can one do that, especially from the point of view of us who provide medical services? Thank you.
Yeah, I don't see any other hand up. I'll invite our facilitators to take them up. We'll begin with you, Mr. Wekesa. You seem to have a direct question, and then we'll ask Evelyn to take up the other one. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I go back to the first question. Someone who has started a tours and travel in January 2020. I think what I would say is that one, read the trend as much as you can. The trends now are that people who are vaccinated are intending to travel a little bit more now than say most of the 2020. Find ways in which to be in the space in which they can choose you as a service provider. Number two, look into providing affordable, cheaper expeditions for Ugandans. If you're in Uganda, if you're in Kenya, do the same. If you're in Tanzania, do the same. And positioning that can be through online. I've seen quite a number of people gathering quite a number of groups, especially doing local tourism right now, domestic tourism, through media platforms, through Twitter, through Facebook, and a lot are using Instagram, especially the younger generation. That keep you afloat in this particular time. The other thing you need to do is, it is this particular time that you need to position your business even better. It is this time that you can to learn basic things like making sure that you have a better looking websites, better seen websites, position yourself on social media platforms. If you get a chance, use this particular chance to also travel around the country, get yourself more knowledge. As an individual, I read about 2 hours every day. When I read about 2 hours every day, I have at least 20 to 40 minutes of that time reading particular topic on tourism, and that has given me an upper hand in as far as the industry is concerned, because tours and travel, a lot of people just think for anybody, but you also need a lot of knowledge, because people who can afford to pay money for leisure are not the poor ones, and normally they are the elite type, so they will need you as a very eligible individual for them to work with you in as far as business is concerned. The other one is that look out for people that you can learn from, especially, for example, if you came to learn from me, it's a bit harder because the things I'll be telling you will be slightly different from the guys slightly lower in ranks in terms of tourism. You need people that still are just getting off the challenges that you're facing at a particular time as a startup. And it's very difficult if you came to me and you looked at maybe our offices, you looked at our cars, you looked at our lodges. It's sometimes can be very discouraging thinking about, I want to reach there now, and yet you can reach there. You need to have a target, long-term target of 25 or 50 years. I still have a target, and I believe that as Great Lakes Safaris and Uganda Lodges, we are at the level of takeoff, not yet where we want to be as a business. But to some people, they see us as people who have really done so well. We've grown so big to them. It's because we're operating in a very small environment. When you're operating in an environment like ours, you need to make sure that you're pushing to an African level for you to be able to continue having courage to work hard. The second question was, again, about the medical field. I also don't know if it's just a service that you need people to be in your presence in order for the medical to be applied, or it is medical medicine that can easily be transferred to the people wherever they are. If it is a term type that transfer, if it's possible that you have medicines that you need people to buy, or cosmetics that people need to buy, the internet has become such a powerful tool. I'm just seeing I do Wekesa Friday Market Day, and I see people advertising there. I get so many testimonies. People telling me, you know what, we advertise our product there. People know about it. People order for it now. So just find channels which you can grow in as far as that is concerned.
Thank you, Mr. Wekesa, for taking up those questions. And I know that time is really fast spent. I would like to invite Mary to help us wrap up. Unfortunately, we will not be able to take up other questions because we need to operate within the set time, 1.5 hours. But I would like to say thank you very much once again, Mr. Wekesa. Mary, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Mr. Wekesa. I follow you a lot online. If there is testimony that actually online works, then you're one of those testimonies. And thank you very much, everybody who has been here. As we said at the beginning, this is the very first topic in our webinar series. We have been talking about laying the foundations for successful e-commerce business. How do we start? Where do we start from? Yes, did you say something, Jonathan? So I would like to thank our speakers for ably taking us through this. And I would like to encourage us to tell all our friends to share the flyers. I will ask one of our administrators to still show them on the screen. Please tell somebody about this. We shall be here for the next for four other weeks. We shall be here on 15th, we shall be here on 22nd, and we shall be here on 29th September. We shall be using the same link. We have a number of interesting speakers lined up. We know that this will bless each one of us. We know that it will open our minds, and we know that it will take us in the right direction. So let's tell everyone the other topics that we have lined up are developing an e-commerce business plan and strategy. You heard our first speaker telling us about the need to plan. The way you plan to build a house is the way you actually plan to do e-commerce and to trade online. So we shall have a session about that. We shall have a session about how to build an online store. You had Mr. Wekesa talking about how to make yourself searchable online. We will talk about how to launch and market our e-business. We shall talk about the national policies that are on e-commerce. I had somebody asking about the ESC market. Evelyn told us about ACA, the African Continental Free Trade Area. There are so many markets that we can take advantage of. And one of the things we shall do in the other topics we have is how we can actually make use of this and how we can market our products. So we have so much coming on. Please tell a friend about this and let us be here same time on the 15th of September. Thank you very much, Pastor Owundo, Victor, for preparing this. Let us together build, launch, and grow our profitable online businesses. Jonathan, back to you.
Thank you, Mary, and you've said it all. We will not take more of our time, but just to say that this is just a start. And Doreen in the chat asked a question as that, is there a moment for networking amongst ourselves? I believe, yes, there is. And as long as we can continue attending all these webinar series, we'll get to have a platform where we can actually get to know each other better, and even the businesses that each one of us here does. We have many IT specialists, the moderators themselves being some of them. And Doreen, I know she's my colleague. She too is an IT specialist and statistician. So there is a lot of opportunities to network amongst ourselves. And just like Mr. Wekesa, I know he does tourism. I have a friend called Elliot Mugisha, and he too is in the same business. So you realize that it is becoming a smaller and smaller world. And I believe we shall get opportunities to network amongst ourselves. So let's continue attending all the sessions, and then we see what Mishkan can actually help us do even in that area. So we'd like to say thank you from Mishkan. We'd like to say have yourselves a wonderful evening and a great night. The Lord bless you. We hope to see you again on Wednesday, the 15th. Bye-bye.